At its peak, Rome controlled over 5 million square kilometers of land. More than 60 million people lived under Roman rule across continents. That scale did not protect Rome. It guaranteed something far worse. Most people think Rome fell because of barbarian invasions and war. That explanation sounds simple, but it misses the real mechanism. Rome expanded for 200 years without reversing a single cost. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers were stationed permanently. Military spending consumed more than half of all state revenue. From Britain to Mesopotamia, the system stretched thin. Across 5 centuries, the pattern repeated again and again. Growth created obligations Rome could never escape or unwind. This collapse followed a hidden mathematical pattern. Let me show you the moment Rome became too big to survive. Rome did not begin as an empire seeking domination. It began as a city defending itself from nearby rivals. Expansion happened as reaction, not long-term strategy. Each war solved a threat and created new territory to manage. Victory brought land, slaves, tribute, and political power. Early expansion paid for itself through conquest revenue. Conquered regions funded the legions that captured them. Loot financed roads, temples, and grain for Roman cities. War generated revenue, and revenue enabled more war. This feedback loop powered Rome for centuries. As long as expansion continued, costs stayed hidden. Growth masked inefficiency inside the system. By 146 BCE, Rome controlled the Mediterranean world. Carthage was destroyed and Greece was absorbed. Spain became a major source of silver and manpower. Rome now governed millions it did not culturally integrate. Administration remained thin and heavily decentralized. Control relied on local elites and military presence. This model worked only while borders kept expanding. New territory covered old financial weaknesses. But empire does not scale the way people expect. Costs compound faster than revenue once growth slows. Every new province added permanent obligations. Legions had to be stationed indefinitely. Roads required constant repair and maintenance. Supply lines stretched thousands of kilometers. Soldiers needed regular pay, not one-time rewards. Veterans expected land grants or lifelong pensions. Cities relied on imported grain to survive. Rome became dependent on continuous logistics. By the 1st century CE, Rome maintained 30 legions. That meant over 300,000 professional soldiers. This excluded auxiliaries, support staff, and local forces. Military spending consumed up to 60% of revenue. That share increased as expansion slowed. Under Emperor Trajan, Rome reached maximum size. The empire spanned over 5 million square kilometers. Nearly 1/4 of the world's population lived inside it. This was Rome at its most powerful moment. It was also when the math quietly turned negative. The remaining lands were poor, hostile, or expensive. Britain required constant military occupation. Germanic borders never stabilized for long. Eastern frontiers faced organized rival empires. These were not tribes, but state-level adversaries. Conquest slowed sharply after Trajan, but the empire could not shrink. Borders became fixed liabilities overnight. Every frontier demanded defense forever. Rome shifted from expansion to defense. This transition changed the entire system. Defensive empires must pay just to stand still. There is no profit in maintaining position. Hadrian's Wall was built in the early 2nd century. It stretched over 100 kilometers across Britain. It symbolized containment, not dominance. Similar fortifications appeared across Europe. Rome replaced mobility with static defense. Fixed costs rose without new income. To fund this, Rome raised taxes. Tax pressure intensified in productive regions. Small farmers struggled to meet obligations. Many abandoned land they could no longer sustain. Large estates absorbed failing farms. Wealth concentrated among elite landowners. The tax base narrowed as inequality rose. Administration grew more complex and corrupt. Governors controlled taxation, courts, and troops. Oversight weakened with distance from Rome. Local elites replaced imperial authority in practice. Failure at scale became synchronized. A drought in Egypt disrupted Rome's grain supply. Revolts on one frontier weakened another. Civil wars pulled legions away from borders. Between 235 and 284 CE, Rome had over 20 emperors. Most were overthrown violently. Political instability increased military spending further. Emperors paid troops loyalty bonuses to secure power. Costs rose without improving security. Revenue could no longer keep pace. Rome faced three remaining options: reduce commitments across the empire, increase extraction from the population, or alter the currency itself. Reducing commitments meant abandoning territory. That option was politically impossible. Increasing taxes fueled revolt and depopulation, so Rome altered its money. Silver content in coins declined steadily. Under Augustus, coins were over 90% silver. By the 3rd century, silver fell below 5%. Prices rose sharply across the empire. Trust in currency collapsed. Barter replaced money in many regions. Markets localized and long trade weakened. The economy fragmented region by region. The empire still existed on paper, but control faded in reality. By the 4th century, Rome relied on mercenaries. These forces were expensive and unreliable. Tax collection failed at the edges. Local power structures filled the vacuum. The Western Empire lost coherence first. By 476 CE, central authority collapsed entirely. The Eastern Empire survived with stronger revenues, but it too shrank dramatically over time. Rome was not destroyed by invasion, it was exhausted by scale. Expansion created obligations that could not reverse. When growth stopped, collapse became structural. This is how large systems fail, not suddenly or dramatically, but mathematically and predictably. Rome did not grow too fast, it grew too far. Once that threshold was crossed, the outcome was set.